Jake Reaper Morrison heard the knock on his cabin door at exactly 11:47 p.m., and his first instinct was to reach for the gun under his pillow. Nobody came to this place. That was the point. After 23 years with the Hells Angels, after the violence, the betrayals, the funerals for brothers who died too young, he'd walked away, turned in his patch, left everything behind for this isolated stretch of Montana wilderness where the only sounds were wind through pines and his own damaged thoughts. The knock came again, persistent, not aggressive, but deliberate. Jake moved through the darkness of his cabin, bare-chested, wearing only sweatpants and suspicion. Through the window he could see a car, expensive, out of place on the dirt road leading to his property, and 4 figures standing on his porch, silhouetted by moonlight. Women. He opened the door with the chain still latched, gun held low against his thigh. Lost? The woman in front, tall, dark-skinned, stunning in a way that made his breath catch, smiled. Not nervous, not afraid, just certain. Jake Morrison? Her voice was smooth, educated, completely wrong for this place and time. Depends who's asking. His finger rested near the trigger guard. My name is Dr. Amara Chen. Behind me are Dr. Sophia Reyes, Dr. Hannah Walsh, and Dr. Keiko Tanaka. She gestured to each woman in turn. A blonde, a redhead, and an Asian woman, all beautiful, all watching him with the same strange intensity. We're researchers from Stanford, and we've been looking for you for 6 months. Jake's jaw tightened. Don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Amara's eyes held his. You're Jake Morrison, former Sergeant-at-Arms for the Hells Angels, Montana chapter. You walked away 3 years ago after the Billings incident. You saved 17 people from a burning building, women and children from a shelter your club was supposed to be protecting, not targeting. You carried them out one by one while the structure collapsed around you. She paused. And you've been hiding here ever since, convinced you don't deserve to be called a hero. Jake felt his world tilt. Nobody knew about that night. Nobody who'd talk. Anyway, what do you want? His voice came out harder than intended. Amara glanced at her companions, then back to him. This is going to sound insane, but we need your help, and in exchange... She took a breath. We came to have sex with you. Silence. Complete, absolute silence, broken only by Jake's heart hammering against his ribs. Excuse me. We came to have sex with you, Amara repeated, calm as if discussing weather. All 4 of us. Over the next 2 weeks. As part of a therapeutic intervention we believe could save your life. Jake stared at them. 4 beautiful, clearly intelligent women standing on his porch at midnight, offering him something that sounded like either the best dream he'd ever had or the most elaborate trap in history. If you love unconventional love stories where healing comes from unexpected places, subscribe and don't miss what happens next. You're insane, he finally managed. Probably, Sophia said, stepping forward. She had an accent, Spanish, maybe Mexican. But we're also right, and you know it. Jake should have slammed the door. Should have called whatever passed for law enforcement this far out. Should have done anything except what he did next. He unchained the door and opened it wide. You've got 5 minutes to explain before I throw you off my property. Amara smiled, sad and knowing and somehow exactly what he needed to see. We'll need longer than that, but it's a start. They filed past him into the cabin, bringing with them the scent of perfume and rain and something that felt dangerously like hope. And Jake Morrison, who'd spent 3 years convinced he was better off alone, felt the first crack form in the armor he'd built around his broken heart. Jake watched the 4 women arrange themselves in his living room, like they belonged there. Amara took the armchair near the fireplace. Sophia perched on the arm of the couch. Hannah, the redhead with freckles and green eyes that reminded him uncomfortably of his ex-wife, stood by the bookshelf, examining his small collection with interest. Keiko remained near the door, observant and still. Talk, Jake said, remaining standing, arms crossed. Fast. Amara pulled a tablet from her bag. Do you know what PTSD looks like in the brain, Mr. Morrison? Jake, and yeah, I know what PTSD looks like, I've got it. Severe? She asked gently. severe enough. He'd stopped counting the nightmares, stopped trying to explain to the VA therapist why he couldn't be in crowds anymore, why loud noises sent him diving for cover, why he woke up most nights convinced he was back in that burning building, hearing screams he couldn't save. "We're neuroscientists," Amara continued, specializing in trauma response and alternative therapeutic interventions. For the past 5 years, we've been researching the connection between physical intimacy, oxytocin release, and the rewiring of traumatized neural pathways. Jake felt his defenses rising. "You want to cure my PTSD with sex, that's your pitch." "No," Sophia leaned forward, her dark eyes intense. "We want to help you remember how to connect with another human being, how to trust, how to be vulnerable in a controlled, safe environment where the only goal is healing. Yours and, honestly, ours." That caught his attention. "Yours?" Hannah finally spoke, her voice softer than the others. "We're all survivors, Jake. Different traumas, different circumstances, but we understand what it's like to have your nervous system hijacked by the past, to feel like you're too broken to be touched without flinching." Jake's throat tightened. She wasn't wrong. "This study," Keiko said quietly, "is not sanctioned by Stanford. We could lose our positions if it becomes public, but we've seen the research. We know what conventional therapy can't reach, and we've all reached a point where we're willing to risk everything to prove there's another way." "By sleeping with traumatized bikers?" Jake couldn't keep the bitterness from his voice. "By creating a safe container for healing through physical connection," Amara corrected. "You're not just a traumatized biker, Jake. You're a man who sacrificed everything, your safety, your reputation, your future with your club, to save innocent people. You're a man who's been punishing himself for 3 years because you believe you don't deserve kindness, or touch, or love." The words hit too close. Jake turned away, staring out the window into darkness. "And if I say no?" "Then we leave," Amara said simply. "No pressure, no judgment. We go back to Stanford and continue our research through conventional means." "But," Sophia added, "we don't think you will. Say no, I mean." Jake turned back to face them. "Why not?" "Because you opened the door." Hannah smiled, and it transformed her face from pretty to luminous. "Because part of you, the part that carried those people out of the fire, the part that still believes in protecting the innocent, knows you need this, need us, even if it terrifies you." She was right. God help him, she was right. 2 weeks? Jake asked. 2 weeks, Amara confirmed. "We stay here, in your cabin. Each of us will spend time with you, talking, touching, being intimate in whatever way feels right. No expectations, no performance anxiety, just connection, healing, learning to trust again. And at the end, we gather our data. You decide if the experience helped, and we all move forward, hopefully better than we started." Jake's mind was racing. This was insane, unprofessional, possibly illegal, definitely the kind of thing that would get them all in serious trouble if anyone found out. It was also the first thing in 3 years that had made him feel something other than numb. "Ground rules," he said finally. Relief flickered across all 4 faces. "Anything," Amara said. "First, you tell me your traumas, all of them. If I'm supposed to be vulnerable, so are you." They exchanged glances, then one by one they nodded. "Second, this stays private. I don't care about your research. What happens here, who I am, it doesn't leave this cabin." "Agreed," Sophia said immediately. Third, Jake's voice dropped, became rougher. "If at any point this feels wrong for any of us, we stop. No questions, no guilt. Deal?" "Deal," they said in unison. Jake ran a hand through his hair, still not quite believing this was happening. "Okay, then I guess. Welcome to my cabin." Amara stood, crossed to him, and extended her hand. When Jake took it, he felt electricity, not just attraction, but something deeper, recognition, like touching someone who understood what it meant to survive when survival felt like failure. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for trusting us." "Don't thank me yet," Jake replied. "You might regret this." "I don't think so." Her thumb brushed across his knuckles, scarred from countless fights, marked by a life he was trying to leave behind. I think this is exactly where we're all supposed to be. Behind her, the other three women smiled. And Jake Morrison, who'd spent 3 years convinced he was beyond saving, felt something long dormant stir in his chest. Hope. Dangerous, terrifying, beautiful hope. The next 2 weeks were going to change everything. He just didn't know how much. The first 3 days were not what Jake expected. There was no immediate seduction. No awkward negotiations about who would go first or how this arrangement would work. Instead, the 4 women simply existed in his space. They cooked meals together, played cards by the fireplace, took walks through the surrounding forest. They laughed, they told stories. They treated Jake not like a subject or a conquest, but like a person they genuinely wanted to know. It was Keiko who made the first real move. On the 3rd night, she found Jake on the porch, staring at stars he'd stopped noticing years ago. She sat beside him without speaking, and for 10 minutes they just breathed in sync with the mountain air. "I was engaged," she said finally. "To a man I loved more than anything. 3 weeks before our wedding, he died in a car accident." Her voice was steady, but Jake heard the tremor underneath. "I was in the passenger seat. I walked away with bruises. He didn't walk away at all." Jake's throat tightened. "I'm sorry. Everyone's sorry. Sorry doesn't bring him back." She turned to look at Jake, and in the moonlight her face was ethereal. "For 2 years I couldn't let anyone touch me. Couldn't imagine being intimate with someone else. It felt like betrayal. Like if I moved on, I was saying he didn't matter. What changed? Therapy. Time. And realizing that my body didn't die with him. That I was allowed to want connection again. To want pleasure. To want..." She reached out, placed her hand over Jake's. "To want to feel alive." Jake looked down at their joined hands. Hers was small, delicate. His was scarred and calloused. "You don't have to do this, you know. The research thing. I won't be offended if..." "Jake," Keiko squeezed his fingers. "I'm not here because of research. None of us are, not really. We're here because we saw your file, saw what you did, who you are, and recognized something. Someone worth knowing, someone worth touching." She leaned in slowly, giving him every chance to pull away. When her lips brushed his, it was gentle, questioning. Jake's entire body tensed, old instincts screaming warnings about vulnerability and danger, and all the ways letting someone close could hurt. But Keiko didn't push. She just kissed him, soft, sweet, patient, and waited for him to decide. Jake decided. He kissed her back, one hand coming up to cup her face, the other sliding into her hair. She made a soft sound of approval, and something inside Jake cracked open, not breaking, unfurling, like something that had been held too tight finally learning to breathe again. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Keiko smiled. "See? You're not as broken as you think." "Maybe," Jake managed, "or maybe you're just that good." She laughed, and the sound filled the empty spaces in his chest. "Come inside. Let me show you exactly how good I can be." They made love slowly, carefully in Jake's bedroom, while the others gave them privacy. Keiko guided every touch, every moment, creating safety through clear communication and genuine desire. When Jake faltered, when old fears surfaced, she stopped, held him, reminded him where he was and who he was with. "You're safe," she whispered against his skin. "I've got you. We all do." And for the first time in 3 years, Jake believed it. The next morning, Hannah found him in the kitchen, making coffee with hands that shook slightly less than usual. She didn't mention the night before, just poured herself a cup and said, "My turn tonight?" Jake's eyes widened. You don't have to. I want to." Hannah's directness was disarming. "I was assaulted 7 years ago, stranger in a parking garage. He didn't." She swallowed. "He didn't get far. But far enough that I spent years terrified of men, of intimacy, of my own body's responses. Jesus, Hannah, I'm better now, mostly, but there are still Latino blocks, places I can't quite reach, things I can't quite feel." She met his eyes. "I think you could help with that, if you're willing." Jake set down his coffee. "I don't want to hurt you. You won't. That's why I chose you. She stepped closer, and Jake caught the scent of her shampoo, something floral and clean. You're gentle, Jake. Even when you're trying to be hard, even when you're scared. I can see it in the way you move around us like you're afraid we'll break. Maybe I am. We won't. Hannah placed her hand on his chest over his heart. And neither will you. Not anymore. That night she came to him with the same patient intensity Keiko had shown. But where Keiko had been soft instruction, Hannah was careful exploration, learning his body, teaching him hers, building trust one touch at a time. When she cried afterward, Jake held her, understanding without words that these were good tears, healing tears. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For seeing me. Not just my trauma. Me. Jake pressed his lips to her forehead. Thank you for seeing me too. Sophia and Amara followed over the next days, each bringing their own stories and their own healing to the strange sanctuary they'd created in Jake's cabin. Sophia had lost her entire family to cartel violence in Guadalajara, had survived only because she'd been at university when the hit came. Amara had grown up in an abusive home, had fought her way out through scholarship and willpower, but still carried the scars of never feeling good enough. They weren't using him, he understood that now. They weren't subjects in each other's experiment. They were 4 broken people and 1 broken man, finding wholeness in the spaces between them. On the 9th day, they all sat together in the living room, tangled on couches and floor, wine glasses empty, firelight painting them golden, and Amara asked the question that had been building. Are you okay, Jake? Really okay? Jake looked at each of them. Keiko, who'd taught him gentleness. Hannah, who'd shown him trust could be rebuilt. Sophia, who'd reminded him that survival was its own form of courage. Amara, who'd held all their broken pieces together with steady hands and steadier heart. Yeah, he said, and meant it. I think I am. Good, Amara smiled, because we need to tell you something. Jake's stomach dropped. What? There is no official research, Sophia said gently. There never was. We're neuroscientists, yes, but this, she gestured at all of them, wasn't about data. Then what? It was about you, Hannah interrupted, about finding a good man who'd given up on being saved and showing him he was worth saving. Jake felt his world tilt. Why? Because someone did it for me once, Amara said quietly. Someone saw past my damage and showed me I deserved love, and I promised myself that if I ever found someone who needed that same gift, I'd give it, no matter what it cost. Tears burned Jake's eyes. You lied to me. We did, Keiko acknowledged, and we'll leave if you want us to. But everything else, every touch, every word, every moment, that was real. We're real. What we feel for you is real. What you feel, Jake's voice cracked. What are you saying? We're saying, Amara stood, crossed to him, cupped his face in both hands, that we came here to heal you, but you healed us too, and now we don't want to leave. Unless you want us to. Jake looked at the 4 women who'd turned his world inside out in 9 days. 4 women who shouldn't have made sense together, shouldn't have fit into his broken life, but somehow did. Stay, he heard himself say. Please, all of you, stay. They did. The 11th day started with breakfast chaos, 5 people navigating 1 kitchen, passing coffee and toast and laughter, like they'd been doing this for years instead of days. Jake stood at the stove, flipping pancakes while Sophia sang off-key in Spanish, and Hannah stole bacon from the plate faster than he could cook it. This was the happiest he'd been in his entire life. That should have been his first warning. The knock on the door came at 10 a.m. Sharp. Official. The kind of knock that made Jake's military instincts snap to attention even before he saw the 3 men standing on his porch. One wore a Fed badge. The other 2 wore cuts, motorcycle vests, with the death's head patch of the Hells Angels. Jake's blood turned to ice. Stay inside, he told the women quietly. Then louder to the door. What do you want? Jake Morrison. The Fed, young, ambitious-looking, held up credentials. Agent Ross Miller, FBI. I need to ask you some questions about your involvement with the Hells Angels and specifically about the Billings incident 3 years ago. Through the window, Jake could see one of the bikers, Crow, his former vice president, a man he'd ridden with for 15 years, a man who'd sworn to kill him if he ever saw him again after Jake had walked away. "I left the club," Jake said through the door. "Gave up my patch. That life's done." "Maybe," Miller said, "but we have new evidence suggesting you were more involved in the Billings situation than your original statement indicated. Evidence that contradicts your hero story." Jake's jaw clenched. "What evidence?" "The kind that suggests you set that fire yourself. That you saved those people from a situation you created to gain exactly the kind of reputation that let you disappear without the club hunting you down." Rage boiled in Jake's chest. "That's bullshit. I saved those people." "Did you?" Crow's voice cut through, cold and hard. "Or did you use them? Use us? We've been looking into things, Reaper, talking to people. That fire was your idea from the start. Insurance money. Send a message to the rival club. You just didn't count on kids being there." "There were no kids supposed to be there." Jake's control was slipping. "The intel said empty building. When I saw them, when I heard them screaming..." "Very convenient," Miller said. "You become a hero. Get to walk away clean. Leave your brothers to take the fall for arson and attempted murder." Behind Jake, he heard movement, felt Amara's hand on his shoulder. "Jake," she said quietly, "don't engage. Let them go." But Crow had seen her, seen all 4 women now crowding behind Jake in the doorway. His eyes widened, then narrowed with understanding that made Jake's stomach drop. "Well, well," Crow said slowly. "Looks like the hermit's not so lonely after all. 4 beautiful women, all here. What's the matter, Reaper? One wasn't enough." "Leave them out of this," Jake growled. "Oh, I don't think so." Crow's smile was vicious. "See, the club's been very interested in your whereabouts. And now that we know you're here, and that you've got company worth protecting, I think we need to have a serious conversation about loyalty and consequences." Miller looked uncomfortable. "This isn't what we agreed." "Fuck what we agreed," Crow snapped. "You want your arrest fed, you'll get it, but first Jake and I are going to settle some old business." Jake's mind raced. The women. He had to protect the women. If the club knew they were here, if they thought Jake cared about them, they'd use them, hurt them. It was what the club did to traitors. Hurt what they loved, until there was nothing left to love. "I'll come with you," Jake said suddenly, "voluntarily. Answer whatever questions you have. But you leave them alone. They're not part of this." "Jake?" "No, sir." Amara's grip tightened. "It's okay." He turned to face her, memorizing her face, all their faces. "I knew this was coming eventually, I just..." His voice cracked. "I didn't think I'd have something to lose when it did." "You're not losing us," Sophia said fiercely. "We're not letting you do this. You don't have a choice." Jake gently removed Amara's hand from his shoulder. To Miller, "Give me 5 minutes, I'll come out, you have my word." Miller hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes, then we're coming in." They left the porch. Jake closed the door and turned to face 4 women who looked ready to fight God himself to keep him safe. "Listen to me," he said urgently. "You need to leave, now. There's a service road 3 miles north." "We're not leaving you," Keiko interrupted. "You have to. The club, you don't understand what they'll do." "We understand perfectly," Hannah said, "and we're not running." "Why?" Jake wanted to shake them. "Why would you risk yourselves for me?" "Because we love you, you idiot," Amara said, tears streaming down her face. "All of us. We fell in love with you, and we don't abandon people we love." The words hit Jake like bullets. Love. They loved him. These 4 incredible, brilliant, damaged, perfect women loved him, and he was about to get them killed. "I love you too," he whispered. "All of you. That's why you have to go." "No." Sophia stepped forward, placed her hand over his heart. "We came here to save you, Jake. So let us." "How? They've got guns. They've got the law." "And we've got the truth." Amara pulled out her phone. "Remember when I said there was no research? I lied about the lie. There is research, and we've been documenting everything. including the illegal cooperation between the FBI and the Hells Angels to frame you for a crime you didn't commit. Jake's eyes widened. What? That fire wasn't your fault, Hannah said. We proved it. Found the real intel reports. The communications showing the rival club changed locations last minute. The evidence that you genuinely saved those people. And we found the conspiracy between Agent Miller and your former club to create a narrative that would let them arrest you for crimes committed by others. We have recordings, Keiko added, videos, documentation of everything that happened over the past week, including 3 separate attempts by club members to surveil this property. Attempts that prove they've been working with federal agents to build a case against you that doesn't exist. Jake's mind was reeling. Why didn't you tell me? Because we needed to be sure, Amara said. Needed to have enough evidence that no one could dispute it. And we needed, she took his hand, we needed you to trust us enough that when this moment came, you'd believe we could save you. Can you? Jake's voice was barely audible. Yes, she smiled through her tears, but only if you let us. Only if you trust that you're worth saving. Outside, Miller called. Time's up, Morrison. Jake looked at the 4 women who'd invaded his life and remade it into something beautiful, who'd seen past his trauma and his guilt and his broken pieces to the man underneath, who'd given him back something he thought was lost forever. Hope. Okay, he said. Save me. Amara kissed him hard and fast. Stay here. Let us handle this. And then, before Jake could stop them, all 4 women walked out onto the porch to face down the men who'd come to destroy him. Jake watched through the window, heart in his throat, as Amara faced down Agent Miller with the kind of calm authority that came from knowing you held all the cards. Agent Miller, she said, I'm Dr. Amara Chen, neuroscientist at Stanford University. These are my colleagues, Drs. Reyes, Walsh, and Tanaka. We've been conducting a comprehensive study on PTSD intervention with full IRB approval and documentation, using Mr. Morrison as a voluntary subject. Miller's face showed confusion. That's not why you're here. No. You're here because you've been working with members of a criminal organization to fabricate evidence against a man who committed no crime, except leaving a violent lifestyle behind. Amara held up her phone. We have recordings of every conversation between you and the Hells Angels representatives, including the one where you agreed to falsify federal reports in exchange for information about rival clubs. Crow moved toward her, but Sophia stepped between them. Touch her, and you'll have assault on a federal witness added to your charges. We've already transmitted copies of our evidence to the FBI field office in Helena, the DOJ, and 3 separate news organizations. You're done. You're bluffing, Crow snarled. Am I? Hannah's voice was ice. Try me. My father's a federal judge. My sister's with the ACLU. I grew up learning exactly how to dismantle men like you. Miller's face had gone white. You can't. This is entrapment. No. Keiko's quiet voice cut through. We're private citizens documenting criminal activity, completely legal. Unlike your collaboration with a known criminal organization to persecute a man whose only crime was choosing morality over loyalty. Jake couldn't breathe, couldn't process what he was seeing. These 4 women, these beautiful, brilliant, impossible women, were taking apart his enemies with nothing but truth and courage and unshakable conviction. Miller looked at Crow. Crow looked at his brothers. Some silent communication passed between them, some calculation of odds and outcomes. Then Crow's hand moved toward his jacket, and Jake was through the door. He hit Crow before the gun cleared leather, 23 years of training and instinct taking over. They went down hard, rolling through the dirt of Jake's front yard. Crow was good, had always been good, but Jake was fighting for something now. Not just survival, something bigger. Love. He fought for love. The 2 other bikers moved in, but Sophia was faster, swept one's legs out from under him with a kick that spoke of serious martial arts training. Hannah grabbed the other's arm, twisted, sent him face first into the porch railing. Keiko had Miller on the ground, his own cuffs around his wrists, reciting his rights in a voice that brooked no argument. Amara just watched Jake, phone out, recording everything. "Stop!" Miller screamed. "Everyone stop! This is a federal investigation." "No," Amara said calmly. "This is a federal crime, and we have it all on video." Crow got his knee into Jake's ribs, and Jake gasped, pain exploding through his chest. Old injuries, ones he'd gotten in the Billings fire, flared to life. For a moment he was back there, smoke filling his lungs, heat searing his skin, screaming for people he couldn't see. "Jake!" Amara's voice cut through the flashback. "You're here. You're safe. Stay with me." Jake's vision cleared. Crow was above him, fist raised, face twisted with rage and something that looked almost like grief. "You broke us," Crow said, and his voice cracked. "You were my brother. You were supposed to stand with us. And you left. You chose them over us." "I chose right over wrong," Jake managed. "I chose life over death. If that makes me a traitor, then yeah, I'm a traitor. We would have died for you." "I know." Jake's own eyes burned. "That's why I had to leave. Because what we were doing, what the club was becoming, it was worth dying for. But it wasn't worth living for." For a moment, something flickered in Crow's eyes. Understanding, maybe, or just the acknowledgement of a path that diverged years ago and could never converge again. Then he lowered his fist, stood, and backed away. "You're already dead to us, Reaper," he said quietly. "You have been since Billings. He gestured at the scene, at Miller in cuffs, at his brothers subdued by women who should have been easy victims. "This just makes it official." He pulled his brothers up, and without another word they walked to their bikes. Engines roared to life and they were gone, disappearing down the mountain road like ghosts of a life Jake had left behind. Miller was babbling something about lawyers and entrapment and corruption, but Amara was already on the phone with Helena, arranging transport, reading charges that would see him stripped of his badge and facing years in prison. And Jake just sat in the dirt of his yard, ribs screaming, knuckles split, watching the women who'd saved him coordinate his rescue with the efficiency of a military operation. Sophia crouched beside him first. "Broken?" "Just bruised." Jake coughed, winced. "Like my ego." She laughed, but her eyes were wet. "Your ego's fine. Your ribs, on the other hand. Worth it." He caught her hand, squeezed. "All of this. Worth it." Hannah and Keiko joined them, forming a protective circle around Jake while Amara finished with the call. When she finally hung up and came over, her face was serious. "Federal agents are en route, real ones. They'll want statements from all of us." She knelt in the dirt, cupped Jake's face. "Miller's career is over. The connection between the FBI and the club will be investigated. You're cleared, Jake. Completely cleared. The evidence we gathered proves you're exactly who we believed you were. A hero who made impossible choices under unimaginable circumstances." Jake couldn't speak past the lump in his throat. "But," Amara continued, and her voice dropped, "there's a cost. Your location is compromised. The club knows where you are. Even with Miller arrested, there will be others. Brothers who feel betrayed. People who want revenge." "I know." Jake had known this moment would come eventually. "I'll move, disappear again. It's what I'm good at." "Alone?" Sophia's voice was sharp. Jake looked at all four of them. "You have lives, careers. I can't ask you to—" "You're not asking," Hannah interrupted. "We're telling. We're coming with you." "That's insane. You'd give up everything." "For you?" Keiko smiled. "Yes, absolutely, without question." "Why?" Jake's voice broke. "Why would you do that?" Amara kissed him, soft and certain. "Because love isn't just about the easy times, Jake. It's about the hard ones, the impossible ones, the times when staying is terrifying and leaving is unthinkable, so you find a third option." She pulled back, met his eyes. "We're your third option. And you're ours, so we go together, or we don't go at all." Jake Morrison, who'd spent 3 years believing he was better off alone, who'd convinced himself he didn't deserve connection or happiness or love, felt something break open in his chest. Not cracking, blooming, like a flower that had been dormant too long, finally remembering how to reach for sunlight. "Together," he whispered. "Together," they echoed. And as sirens began to wail in the distance, Jake let himself be held by 4 women who'd invaded his isolation and taught him that the strongest armor was the kind built from trust and vulnerability and love that refused to accept impossible as an answer. They'd saved him. Now he'd spend the rest of his life being worthy of that salvation. The federal agents who arrived were nothing like Miller, professional, thorough, genuinely interested in justice rather than advancement. They took statements from all 5 of them, reviewed the evidence Amara had compiled, and by evening, had enough to not only clear Jake completely, but to open investigations into corruption that went far deeper than one ambitious agent and a vengeful motorcycle club. They left with promises of protection and offers of relocation through proper channels. But Jake could see the truth in the lead agent's eyes. Protection was temporary, relocation was a band-aid, and the club had long memories. He was standing on the porch watching sunset paint the mountains gold when Amara found him. "Your ribs okay?" she asked, leaning against the railing beside him. Better than they should be, considering. Jake's voice was rough. "Amara, what you all did today was terrifying and necessary and completely worth it," she finished. "Don't apologize for needing saving, Jake. We all do sometimes." "But I cost you. You cost us nothing." She turned to face him. "You gave us everything. Purpose, connection, a love none of us thought we'd find." Her hand found his. "Stanford will understand. Or they won't, and we'll find other positions." The research was real. What we learned about trauma and healing and the power of intentional intimacy will change lives. Just maybe not in the academic way we originally planned. "You're really willing to walk away from all that? For me? Not for you." Amara's smile was gentle. "With you, there's a difference." The door opened, and the other 3 emerged, carrying wine glasses and wearing expressions that were equal parts nervous and determined. "We need to talk," Sophia said. "All of us." They arranged themselves around the porch, Sophia and Hannah on the steps, Keiko on the railing, Amara standing close to Jake. The mountain air was cold, but the warmth between them kept it at bay. "This is weird," Hannah started, then laughed. "God, this is so weird. 4 women falling for the same man, it sounds like a reality show." "Or a fantasy," Keiko added quietly. "But it's real. What we feel is real." "So what do we do about it?" Sophia asked the question they'd all been avoiding. "Because traditional relationships don't have a framework for this. For 5 people who love each other, but live in a world that won't understand." Jake's chest tightened. He'd been thinking about this, about logistics and legality, and the million ways this could fall apart. "You could choose," he said. "One of you, make it simple, I'd understand." "No." All 4 said it simultaneously. "We're not choosing," Amara said firmly. "We're all in, or we're all out. That's non-negotiable." "But how does that work?" Jake's voice rose with frustration. "Marriage, kids? Where would we even live where people wouldn't—" "Jake." Hannah stood, crossed to him, took his face in both hands. "Do you love me?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. "And Sophia?" "Yes." "Keiko?" "Yes." "Amara?" "God, yes." Hannah smiled. "Then the how doesn't matter yet. First, we need the why. And the why is simple, because life is short and love is rare, and the 5 of us found something most people search their whole lives for. We found each other. Society won't accept it," Jake said, but his resistance was weakening. "Society didn't accept interracial marriage either," Sophia pointed out, "or same-sex marriage, or 1,000 other things that are now normal because people chose love over approval." She stood too, joined Hannah. "We're not asking permission, Jake, we're telling you what we want. Now you need to tell us what you want." Jake looked at them. 4 incredible women. 4 different kinds of strength and beauty and brilliance. 4 people who'd seen him at his worst and decided he was worth fighting for. "I want all of you," he admitted, and saying it out loud felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. "I want to wake up and not know whose arms I'm in because they all feel like home. I want to build a life, impossible and unconventional and probably insane, where we take care of each other, where we create our own family based on choice instead of obligation, where we prove that love doesn't have to look like what we've been told it should look like." "Yes," Keiko breathed. "That, exactly that. Amara pulled out her phone, pulled up a website. I've been researching. There are intentional communities, places where alternative family structures are not just accepted, but celebrated, where we could live openly, raise children if we wanted, build careers that support each other instead of competing. Where? Jake's heart was racing. Oregon, Northern California, parts of Colorado. She showed him listings, properties with multiple structures, land enough for privacy, communities of people who'd chosen radical love over conventional limits. We have money. Between all our savings, we could buy something. Start over, together. What about your families? Jake asked. Friends, everything you'd be leaving behind. My family stopped speaking to me when I came out as bisexual, Hannah said. My friends are mostly colleagues who wouldn't understand anyway. I left my family in Guadalajara when they tried to marry me off at 19, Sophia added. Haven't been back since. My parents died with my fiancé's approval, Keiko said quietly. Everything I care about is here, with you, with us. Amara was last. My family never understood me, never understood why I studied trauma instead of becoming a doctor or lawyer like they wanted. The people who matter, the ones who love me for who I am, not who they want me to be, those people will understand, or they won't. And I'll build new family. She reached for Jake's hand. I'm building it right now. Jake felt tears burning. I don't deserve this. Don't deserve you. Probably not, Sophia agreed, grinning through her own tears. But you're stuck with us anyway. So what do you say? Hannah asked. Ready to try impossible? Jake Morrison had spent 3 years hiding from life. 3 years convinced that safety meant solitude, that protection meant pushing people away, that love was a luxury he'd forfeited when he'd left his old life behind. These 4 women had proved him wrong about everything. Yeah, he said, and felt like he was jumping off that cliff after all. Let's try impossible. They came to him then, all 4 at once, arms wrapping around him, hands finding purchase, bodies pressing close. Jake held them, held all of them, and felt something he'd thought burned away in that fire 3 years ago. Complete. Whole. Home. We need ground rules, Amara said against his shoulder, ever the scientist even in emotional moments. Communication protocols. Schedules for... Later, Sophia interrupted, laughing. Right now we just need this. All of us. Together. They stood like that as the stars emerged. 5 people who shouldn't have made sense but did, creating their own constellation against the Montana sky. Below them, the world that wouldn't understand. Around them, mountains that had seen stranger things and would keep their secrets. Inside, a cabin that had been a prison of isolation, now transformed into a launching pad for the most audacious adventure any of them had ever attempted. The choice was made. Now came the hard part, living it. But Jake looked at the 4 faces surrounding him, saw love and determination and fierce hope reflected back, and thought maybe, just maybe, the hard part would also be the best part, because nothing worth having was ever easy, and these 4 women, they were worth everything. 18 months later, Oregon coast. The property was perfect, 20 acres of forest and meadow, with a main house and 3 smaller cottages arranged in a circle like petals around a flower. Private enough that neighbors couldn't see, close enough to Portland that they could access culture and community when they wanted it. The intentional community down the road, a mix of polyamorous families, retired hippies, and young professionals seeking alternative lifestyles, had welcomed them without judgment. Jake stood on the deck of the main house, watching Sophia chase their 2 rescue dogs through the tall grass, while Keiko tended her garden. From the art studio cottage, he could hear Hannah's music. She'd discovered a passion for violin during their first months here, and now played for hours when inspiration struck. Amara was in town, giving a lecture at Portland State about their research, which had been published, peer-reviewed, and was changing conversations about trauma treatment across the country. They'd made it work. Not perfectly, not without arguments and jealousy and moments when the impossible felt genuinely impossible. But they'd built something beautiful anyway. Communication protocols helped. Weekly family meetings, individual date nights, clear boundaries, and even clearer honesty. They'd learned each other's rhythms, figured out who needed space when and who needed closeness. They'd become not just lovers, but family in the truest sense. The door opened behind him, and Jake turned to find all four women emerging. Sophia had grass in her hair. Keiko held a basket of vegetables. Hannah carried her violin. Amara had that post-lecture glow that said she'd changed minds and opened possibilities. Council meeting? Jake guessed. They only gathered like this for important discussions. The good kind, Amara promised, settling into her favorite chair. The others arranged themselves around the deck like they had that first night in Montana, when everything changed. We've been talking, Hannah started. Always dangerous, Jake teased, but his stomach fluttered with nerves. About the future, Sophia continued, about what we're building here, about legacy. We want a child, Keiko said simply. Children, potentially. And we want you to be their father. Jake's world tilted. They'd discussed this abstractly, but hearing it stated so clearly, so certainly, made it real. Which one of you? All of us, Amara interrupted. Eventually, if we want to. There are fertility specialists who work with alternative families, legal frameworks we can establish. We've researched everything. Of course you have. Jake's voice came out rough with emotion. But only if you want this, Hannah said gently. Only if you're ready to be not just our partner, but a parent. It's a bigger commitment than anything we've asked before. Jake thought about the man he'd been 18 months ago. Isolated, traumatized, convinced he had nothing to offer anyone. Then he looked at the women who'd proven him wrong about everything, who'd seen potential where he'd seen only damage, who'd built love where he'd built walls. Yes, he said. God, yes. I want that. Want all of it. Want to build a family with you that shows the world love, doesn't have to look like what they expect. Relief and joy flooded four faces simultaneously. There's one more thing, Sophia said, pulling something from her pocket. A simple wooden box. She opened it to reveal 5 rings, not matching but complementary, each unique, each beautiful. We can't legally marry, not all of us, but we can commit, we can promise. They each took a ring, formed a circle on the deck with Jake at the center. Jake Morrison, Amara began, you saved us by letting us save you. You taught us that heroism isn't about perfection. It's about choosing love even when it's terrifying. Will you continue to choose us every day for the rest of our lives? Yes, Jake whispered. Will you build a family with us that redefines what family means? Sophia asked. Yes. Will you be vulnerable with us, trust us? Let us hold your broken pieces even when you think they're too sharp to touch. Hannah's voice wavered. Yes. Will you grow with us, change with us, become the best versions of ourselves together? Keiko finished. Yes. Always. Yes. They slipped the rings on, his on the 4th finger of his left hand, theirs on whatever finger felt right. Then they were kissing him, holding him, laughing and crying and creating the kind of memory that would anchor them through whatever storms came next. Because storms would come, society would judge, people would whisper. There would be legal battles and social challenges and moments when the impossible felt overwhelming. But they'd face it together. I love you, Jake said into the tangle of arms and hair and hearts beating in sync. All of you, more than I thought I was capable of loving anyone. We know, Amara said. We love you too, that's the whole point. They stayed like that as the sun set over the Pacific, 5 people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way and built something that defied every rule they'd been taught about how love should work. Jake Morrison, former Hell's Angel, trauma survivor, man who'd been convinced he was too broken to deserve happiness, felt complete. Not because these women had fixed him, you can't fix what isn't really broken, just wounded, but because they'd given him space to heal, tools to grow, and love that didn't demand he be anything other than himself. In return, he'd given them the same. And that, in the end, was the only promise that mattered. The price had been high. Careers altered, families estranged, conventional lives abandoned. But the promise was higher. A promise that love was worth the cost, that family was what you made it, that impossible was just another word for not yet accomplished. And as Jake looked at his 4 wives, legal or not, conventional or not, accepted or not, he knew with absolute certainty that every impossible thing they'd done had been worth it, every single one. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and stay for the next ride. Because sometimes the most forbidden roads lead to the most beautiful destinations.